Hey everyone, PJ here. Just wanted to give listeners a quick heads up. This is our first episode since mid-December. We are on break, and during that time, the Spatial 8 team decided to go open source, so they're working on things. So we're not able to use our normal space in VR for recording and streaming. So we did this episode with Gustav from the Demeo team in the basement of Demeo, which was great, but not the most ideal recording environment. Just so everyone knows, we're working on coming back hopefully soon, within a month or so. We don't want to do audio only episodes just because it's so much nicer in VR, so we're working on things. Just want to let everyone know we're not going away, we're just retooling. Enjoy this episode and more to come.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to VR Verdict Podcast, episode 105. I am PJ.
Wookie.
Here talking to Gustav, producer at Resolution Games of the game Demeo. How's it going, sir?
It is going great. Going great.
Yeah, we're broadcasting live from the awesome Demeo basement for this episode. We're going to get Gustav's background and talk about the roadmap you guys shared for Demeo and all kinds of fun things. So,
Nice.
to start off, why don't you just give us a little background of yourself?
Yeah, so I joined Resolution as one of the first employees, actually, back like 6-7 years ago when the company was just, I think there were 5 founders, and then I joined, and another guy, we started on the same day. I joined as a producer. I've been working with our CEO Tommy for almost 20 years.
Wow.
So and I had this hobby project that I was like game designing on my spare time. It was a fishing game, and I've been bugging Tommy about that on and off through the years. And then he founded Resolution Games, and they had been discussing and like, we should have a fishing game that would be perfect for VR. So one day he called me, and well, yeah, I joined, and the rest is history. That game became bait.
Yeah. Great game, by the way.
Thank you. Yeah, really, that's really my baby. The first game I made in VR, and super happy to see it still being like very popular, getting a lot of downloads.
Yeah.
Even today, 6 years later. So, but yeah, then before joining Resolution, I was at King, working on like mobile and Facebook games, and I also worked at Tommy's first startup, Jadestone, for that. So one of the first companies I joined in my career. I actually joined there as a programmer, and then I became a producer after a few years.
Awesome.
What do you do as a producer?
Well, as a producer, uh, just making sure everyone in the team has the right, like, has
Great
the,
stack.
yeah, exactly what they need to be able to do their job, but also making sure that all the ducks are aligned in a row so that stuff runs smoothly. But it's also a lot of like planning ahead. And in the case of Demeo, I'm responsible for the entire project. It's grown quite a lot, so it's a bigger team than a typical Resolution team. So we actually have several producers in the team, and I'm like, responsible for the entire product.
Yeah, correct me if I'm wrong, but I don't remember who I was talking to, but it sounded like, you released Demeo and obviously it's amazing and caught on real quick. You guys, it was something like I heard you more than doubled the team. Is that true or?
I think that's pretty much true. So the way we work at Resolution is we have the game teams. We try to keep quite small. They are like a typical team might be like a game designer, producer, few programmers, a couple of 2D and 3D artists. And then we have this team with shared resources, working with VFX and technical art, sound, animation, all that stuff, and game writing, obviously, in the case of a game like Demeo. And so counting everyone involved in Demeo, I think we didn't exactly double, but right now it's a big project. Right? We have a lot. Like building a PC version of this game is not a small task, for instance, and we have some other stuff in the works. We're working on new adventures coming during the year.
So yeah, you guys have quite the roadmap. We'll talk about some of those things. So
Happy to.
just from a gamer's timeline, when did you join the Demeo project? Was it after release, before the Rat King expansion, or when about was that?
It was actually after release and after the Rat King expansion. So I joined this fall in September. So works on Roots of Evil was already underway as well. I was working on Cookout before that. So that had been my main game.
Another awesome game Wookie and I have had a lot of fun on.
That's great to hear. Yeah, I really like that game too. So, and the thing is, like Cookout and Demeo was actually developed in parallel. We worked together with Mike both on both titles. So I've always been close to the Demeo development team, but I never really been part of it, like hands-on, until this year after launch.
Gotcha. Yeah, Tommy's been on the podcast twice, I think. And the first time we were just talking about all resolution in the games. And he mentioned, and this was before Demeo was even announced, he's like, yeah, we got, 8 or 10 projects in the background I can't talk about. And he's like, one is going to be huge. And I'm assuming he meant Demeo. And yeah, right.
I would assume so too. Yeah.
You could tell he wanted to say something, but he couldn't. So
yeah,
exactly.
Yeah.
You're excited about something like that, he's cooking.
Yeah. Yeah, no, totally. So happy to see this game finally live in May, and the reception has been amazing. I think it really speaks to me. Well,
I don't know why nobody did put, like a miniatures type of game in here. It's perfectly suited.
Yeah.
It's like one of those ideas that's like so simple.
Yeah.
Nobody thought of it. Perfect, and it looks fantastic.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I agree. It's like and just the whole idea of it is like a board game, role-playing game. It's a perfect fit for VR. It's so easy to think first person, right?
Yeah.
Because it's VR. You can actually
do
something else with it.
People get like tunnel visioned into that. It's got to be, first person, got to grab stuff, got to reload a gun.
Yeah.
Shoot an arrow.
The cool thing that I like about it is, and when Wookie and I were younger, like we never had the D&D tabletop experience, and I didn't until much later in life. So, with the basement and kind of has an 80s feel to it, like it really makes me feel like I'm part of something I missed out on that I was always kind of regretful about. So it's kind of been a neat experience that way. So just sitting around a table with a couple friends.
Yeah. But did you guys play Dungeons and Dragons at all, or?
No.
No? I didn't.
Our father
you didn't either?
wouldn't have allowed it.
Yeah, okay, yeah. Yeah, no, because I remember playing like paper RPGs, like the Swedish version of Dungeons and Dragons, which actually is called Dragons and Demons, if you translate it. Fun fact. But, I mean, we never had the miniatures and stuff. It was all fantasy-based in our head. you just had your character sheet, and then someone was reading from the adventure booklet. We never really moved pieces around, but I know that some people did. Like they spent a lot of time painting miniatures and moving on the game board as well. Especially, I think for like combat and stuff, be able to visualize it.
Yeah, that's kind of neat. Yeah, some miniatures, and even more than like growing up in a household that weirded out by it. I think I won't go into this too much history, but back in the day, it was really like I didn't know anybody that played it. It was more underground and very looked down upon.
Yeah.
So you had your little pocket of people that played it, didn't tell anybody, didn't know anybody at all.
Yeah.
Now it's everywhere.
It was dangerous. I mean,
Yeah.
dangerous for kids to have their fantasy.
Yeah, for some reason.
Yeah, we had the same debate in Sweden growing up.
Interesting.
No.
So with the roadmap, I'll just kind of hit the highlights and then we can talk about them. But you guys, the Roots of Evil campaign came out, and then you're like, hey, here's a roadmap for the next year or so. And you guys are adding a game, a game lounge where everyone can hang out and play mini games and stuff. You're going to be releasing the PC version, which you mentioned, so non-VR players can play the game with VR players and all that, which is awesome. And then you announced a PvP module coming out down the road, and then 2 more expansions this year, like campaigns. And one of the cool things in the game lounge, you guys mentioned Hauntlet. Looks like a video arcade cabinet. That was probably like, strangely enough, that was one thing that was like I was most excited for and like shocked by. And the fact that Tom Hall is like, I don't know if he created it or if he's just whatever his part was, but that's pretty impressive.
I think he's very much, so that's a slightly separate project from what I'm working on, but I think he's actually coding on that one.
Oh, nice.
Coding game design by Tom Hall, that's really cool. And it looks amazing, right?
Yeah, it looks, for anyone who doesn't know, it's just kind of your version of the old classic Gauntlet,
Yeah.
Thought that was awesome.
Actually, I was like a Nintendo kid, so I never really played the arcades. I never played Gauntlet, but I mean, to me, it looks like an old Zelda game as well, right?
Yep.
That's where I
never played until we had like a Sega way later. I think Gauntlet was on that Sega. I was like, this is great, but it was a little old.
Yeah. No, but that's really good, right? It's somewhere to just hang out before and after, and in between Demeo runs.
Yeah.
And also a place to find someone to play with.
Yeah.
So,
The last time Tommy was on after Demeo had launched, we were talking about that. It'd be neat to have a space like that where you could hang out while you're waiting for your friends to join. We even went so far as I was trying to get him to agree to do like a little area where you could actually paint your miniatures and stuff while you waited.
It'll be fun.
So. We'll see what's around the corner. I'm not going to say more about that, but yeah.
Yeah, it's a great place to, while you're just kind of waiting, hanging out, and take a break from the runs, because like the runs can go anywhere from an hour to 3 or so, which thankfully you guys added the save feature.
Yeah, exactly. I think that was helpful. It can be really long, right? Especially sometimes like you're unlucky, you have to like look around for the key and take some time. And some of the fights gets really long as well.
Yeah, the different areas keep it going up in difficulty too. So the latest one is just like, oof, you get a lot of step back.
So do you think the Roots of Evil is harder than Rat King?
I don't think so. I think the Rat King is like,
Rat King was
just
real tough. Yeah,
the boss alone is crazy hard. But it was funny when Wookie and I were playing Roots of Evil before release a little bit, and we didn't know anything. We just jumped in. He wanted to try the Bard. He likes support classes, and we got all the way through the game, killed one of the bosses, and it was just with the Bard and I think I had the Guardian, right?
Yeah.
And and then we played it again after release and stuff, and I'm like, how did we get that far with just those two characters?
Yeah. But that's a good combo, though. Guardian,
Yeah.
Bard. That's a great...
Yeah.
Keep your Guardian buff and...
I've seen other people after release saying, like, even with a team of 4 and whatever setup they have, they're having a difficulty just getting to the boss, which is pretty crazy.
Yeah. It can be tough. But the Brookmare with the tsunami can really throw you off, right?
Yeah, that thing was terrifying the first time we saw it.
Yeah.
Yeah. We both, like, what the hell? It's like, that's interesting.
Yeah.
It was funny for the boss because both of them didn't show up at once. We fought one at a time. Like, we didn't even see the other one until we killed that first one. We're like, we did it, and then the other one came out of the shadows.
Yeah.
I thought it was a second form. I'm like, oh, they're going crazy with this, and then it kicked the shit.
Yeah. Same thing happened to me, actually. First time
It's funny.
Yeah. Like, I think Mother Sai was hiding.
So. Yeah. It was the opposite for us, but it was funny because, like I said, Wookie was the Bard, and I think you had died once or twice, and I picked you up, and then you snuck in and got the killing blow on her.
Mm-hmm.
And we were like, yeah, we did it, awesome. And then all of a sudden, the
high five
came out of nowhere.
Yeah, like on the high five, you see, like, the T-Rex stomp. It's like, what?
What?
I was so glad we captured that on a good video because it was such a funny moment. Because Wookie was just losing it, like, I did it.
Like, yay, I've been useful. Like, he just went around with a dagger stabbing people.
Oh, man.
Yeah,
that's tough. That's tough.
That's one of my favorite things about Demeo and the way you guys have it set up is, we've played it a lot, and it's always different, but it's always so interesting how scenarios like that just organically happen and how random it is. It's just like, even if you play with the same group every time.
Yeah, and
I agree.
It's weird. It's weird about, like, difficulty curves too, because sometimes, like, you go in a stretch where you just keep missing. Like you'll stab a monster or you'll attack a monster, and then you'll crit him, and you get a crit when you don't need it a lot, and it's like, oh man.
Yeah.
And you miss when you don't need to and all that stuff. But it does make it so when you pull something off, it's really like, I killed a boss with a dagger, and the only time I hit him probably. Makes those moments like you really do want to high five.
Yeah, totally. Like, you will roll a crit when you're trying to kill a rat with the Guardian, for instance, and it's just such a waste, and then you fail 3 times in a row, and you're sure that the RNG is messing with you.
Yeah, I was gonna ask, like, what are the specs on that missing mechanic? Because it's the worst.
Yeah, no, I know. It's a classic thing, right? Whenever you have randomness, like, people will assign some sort of master plan to it, but there is none.
Yeah. I was playing a run with a couple of friends, and this one guy he got a crit every single turn for like the first 2 levels. And then the 3rd level, it was the opposite. Like, he couldn't hit anything. I was like, what the hell?
Yeah, it does make you think, is there, like, a little something in the background, like a halo over this person, like he's going to have a good map at the start. It's like sometimes it just works like that.
Funny thing, like, when I was studying programming at university, our teacher was teaching us about, like, the RNGs, the random number generators, and he actually challenged us, like, come up with either write a program that simulates 100 dice rolls, or just make something up, or roll a dice 100 times and write them down, and I can immediately say if you guys have tried to make something up or if it's actual randomness. because whenever you try to like figure it out yourself, you can never get those like 12 sixes in a row kind of things, but they will actually happen when you leave it to just random chance. Right?
Huh.
Yep. Kind of
crazy.
funny. Yeah.
So, in your role, what's your favorite part? Is it the play testing or like new stuff or?
I do love playtesting, but yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
I'm very much about like uh, building a great team. Uh, I'm a very sociable guy. Want to make sure everyone like enjoys what they're doing and has the best like the best chance to do what they're great at.
That's
I'd
awesome.
say that's one of my strengths.
Yeah, just talking to Tommy and a couple other people there, like Resolution Games just sounds like such an amazing place to work because what you just said, everyone says. Even like other
Yeah.
people that from the company that aren't really working on stuff like that, like they say the same things. So it's just awesome to hear because it's such a difference from like the studios that this crunch time and all this other stuff.
Yeah.
I don't want to really talk about that. Like so glad to hear
Yeah.
you guys do it right. It sounds like.
Yeah, I think, I mean, building great games come from like great company culture, a diverse work environment. You need people with different backgrounds and experiences coming together to create something. You need all perspective. Strongly believe that it's not just something say because it sounds great. Right? So yeah, I mean, I love Resolution. It's the best job I ever had. It's more
Yeah,
than
I
a job.
see you guys post about your retreats and getaways and all that fun stuff. It's like
Yeah.
it's just so cool.
Yeah. And I missed the last one. I got a terrible cough the night before, and I had to sit
Oh
out.
no.
Yeah, been to every other one had with Resolution. We try to do those like once or twice a year. Like everyone, we go somewhere, we have conferences, great dinner, play games together, brainstorm new ideas. Really great. Mm.
You guys like I'm not trying to like blow smoke up anything or anything, but like your games like Blast On and Cookout and even Angry Birds, like all that. It's just like to me they're like the most well built games in VR, and they're normally like more of the more fun ones, and they all have co-op if they can, and cross-buy and cross-play. Like you guys do all of it,
Yeah.
like everything, like all the best options for VR games. Where other developer, a lot of VR developers are single-person teams and that, so I get that. But like bigger companies are so like are tend to skimp on things like that. But every game you guys do is just you try to make it accessible to everyone. That's pretty amazing.
Yeah, I mean, we believe in VR, right? And we're in for the long run. So we're not here to make a quick buck, like getting users in and like expanding our user base, building like a great fan base is more important than selling an extra copy by
And
making it cross-buy, for instance.
you guys prove that because even games like Akron, like every game you do, like every holiday, like here's something new or here's something different. Like it's pretty
Yeah.
crazy. Even like Bait, you're still. I'm not sure if you're still adding to that or not, but
So I
most.
mean, Fate has been we've been porting it to like this 6-stop headsets, like the Quest, right? That was the last, but we haven't added any content for a while, actually. Hoping to change that at some point.
But like even Angry Birds and Akron that have been out
Yeah.
for years, like every year, like adding something to it.
The level of polish on everything. Like what got me to get Demeo in the first place. Again, good time on the podcast. I was, watching the games and watch out for that big thing. And then it just like, what I have to do is see this area, like a screenshot of this, and be like, that's more than just a quick buck game.
Yeah.
Like there's so much design just in this little area. It's like, oh,
Yeah.
well, that's a buy, even if I'm just going to sit there and look at it.
That's great. Yeah. Yeah, I'm super excited now with the launch of the PC to see how we can like expand. Maybe it'd be hard to find like to play with your friends because obviously not everyone owns a VR headset yet, even though we're hoping that's slowly changing, or faster the better. But at least now you will be able to play with your friends. Sitting around the same table, they will be able to at least share some of that experience, right?
Yeah.
Again, like it's not going to be the same immersion.
Right. But I think that helps show like your friends like how cool it is. Like, because we've played other games, there's not a lot of them that let you play with non-VR people, but there's some of them. I think it helps sell VR to those that don't want to look into it. Because if you just see someone over here like dancing or like, you know, your hands moving, your friends are just like, how the hell are you doing that? Like, when No Man's Sky added VR support, I was in the lobbies like dancing around and stuff, and I had all kinds of people like, what are you doing over there?
Nobody else can, Xbox and your PC can't do that, and PJ's over here like, doing the disco dances and stuff.
How do I unlock that animation?
In the cash shop. And some of our friends, like a couple of them, they have VR. They get real motion sick. They haven't really gotten over it, or maybe some people just unfortunately can't, so they don't know how they play with them. It's like a PC version of this, we can finally be like, this is what we've been dreaming about.
Yeah.
Check it out.
And that's the cool thing, right? I mean, transferring all this into PC, it's mostly been like a UX challenge, right? How do we translate hands and head into like mouse and keyboard? But I think it's working surprisingly well.
Nice.
So I'm really looking forward to getting that you guys' hands so you can see for yourselves.
That'd be neat. And it's such a big thing for me, like games like some games can be like, flat screen, Xbox, whatever. They can be like almost there, but there's something off, and usually it's the camera. You don't feel like grounded. It could even be the shadows on the character. It just doesn't feel right. So if you're confident that you nail in the PC version, that kind of makes me excited because I love all that. Like figuring out like why does this game feel so good, and this game, which is the same thing, doesn't.
Yeah. That is one thing, though. If you're used to playing Demeo on VR, maybe it will still feel like there's some other medium in between you and the game compared to like really zooming in like this and like being able to grab, and so it's. But yeah, no, I think it works great.
Yeah.
And that's with Demeo and every game. Like my favorite aspect of VR is the scale. So like when you can zoom in and everything's just like in your face, and like that's how I play all the time. Like you'll see my little head down there just moving around while everyone's kind of up here doing stuff. But I play from like down under the character's feet most of the time. It's pretty awesome.
Yeah, I'm trying to figure out like it's all about finding like a comfortable viewing angle, right? And then you can so you can really immerse yourself.
The tilt option to tilt the room and the board is nice, but I hate losing the background of the basement. So like I just find a good spot to perch on and stay out of the way and like play it from there. But
and everyone just swats his hands.
No, but sometimes I think it can be nice to tilt, right? Especially after playing multiple games in a row, like you can start feeling it in your neck, and then it can be nice to just lie down and play.
Yep.
Feeling
really lazy. I gotta sit on my couch and like we spend all the time on the phones and laptops, and this like the same thing if you're playing too far out. So, I like PJ's idea, and sometimes I do that, but sometimes you gotta strategize, and I'll have to like tilt the thing and just lay my head back to stretch my neck the other way.
Yeah. That's good.
So I'm curious, in your role as producer, like
Mm?
before the save feature was a thing, and I'm pretty sure Tommy mentioned it way back, like they were working on it, obviously. But when you hear
Mm-hmm.
some like the fans or the players like we really want this, like do you guys feel like how do you accept it as a challenge? You're like, we'll get that to work. It sounds like a good idea, or you're like, can't we just like? To me, like sometimes it's just like, oh man, I thought we had this kind of in a good spot. How do you
Yeah.
react to those things?
Yeah, I mean, I think for the save feature it was something we had discussed already, right? Internally. Something that we could add. And then I would like in this case here, like there are some challenges when building a save feature for a game with 4 players, right? Should
Yeah.
everyone be able to make a local save? Should it be a snapshot of where you are right now? Like the way we built it now is more like a save and continue from, you have to still clear the first level in order to be able to save, right? And also, should everyone be able to save? Because if you do, that could be abused, right? You could
Mm-hmm.
take turns. So it was uh, that was a challenge, right? Making sure it was like the actual specs. How should it work in a way that like helps everyone? Um, but yeah, so I mean, obviously with a game like Demeo, we get a lot of suggestions, and a lot of the suggestions we get are stuff we ourselves already thought about. Some of them are completely new and like, oh yeah, that sounds like a great idea. Let's hop on that. Right? But yeah, there's always something to do.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's
So
like
it's a matter of priority as well, right? So you have to
Mm-hmm.
like pick and choose. But yeah, saving was that was high up on the list.
and a lot of times, everyone's going to want to keep adding their favorite things to every game. They're going to make those suggestions, and the amount of times
Yeah,
I've seen on games that aren't Fortnite when people are like, "You should add battle royale to this," and it's like,
yeah, yeah, yeah.
so you play it for a week, like,
Yeah.
come on,
Yeah.
But I would
you got to
argue
go through
like
that.
everyone that plays games are to some extent a game designer.
And it's a weird trick too. 'Cause sometimes players can come up with stuff you probably wouldn't think of otherwise. No, and, no
Mm-hmm.
offense to every actual game designer out there. Like, you know, um, my girlfriend and I were talking about old school Warcraft, and people would do stuff like there was this big stitches knob, like a big undead thing that you'd see in the undead area, but it was walking around one of the human starting areas, and people would get that to follow them all the way to a town. It would just annihilate towns. It was wrong. We're like, they didn't think of that.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
there was another night where like me and my friends actually got something added to the terms of service because we made it onto some rooftops in one of those towns in that map, and we were able to hit people, and they weren't able to hit us. We were able to
Mm.
do a jumping puzzle and get under a roof, and it was a huge event. Like everybody was doing stuff all night. And the next morning, it was like, standing in inaccessible areas is now against the rules. And that was us. I think that was us.
Yeah,
But players coming up with stuff. So in a game like
yeah,
Demeo, it's a box environment. I get that. But like sometimes when you get
yeah,
some freedom for the players to create something, it really adds some
yeah,
magic. It wouldn't
yeah,
happen
totally.
otherwise.
Yeah. You can also be surprised by how people play a game, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Like you didn't anticipate that happening. Um,
Yep.
it's always fun to see when you let something out in the real world.
Yeah. It's good to
Yeah,
see
have you
those
ever
people that
had?
break those rules.
Mm.
Yeah, I was gonna ask. Have you ever had an instance where like you see something like that, they break something on one of your games, and you're like, "That's awesome," but then it clicks, and you're like, "Oh, now I have to go do some more work and fix
I
Good
think I've been
job.
lucky.
that." Speaking of that, and if you can't talk about it, that's cool. I was just
Mm.
I'm wondering if you could kind of explain a little bit how PvP may work or not. I'm just
Yeah, I
super
think.
curious.
Yeah, I understand. I think you're gonna have to wait. But what I can tell
That's
you
fine.
is like it's gonna be
Aw.
up to 4 players, right?
Nice.
And some of the most fun matches I've had is 2 versus 2. So that much I
Awesome.
can say.
That's my next question. Can you kind of partner up and do 2-on-2 type of thing?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Is there going to be an option to just flip the table and pieces
Obviously.
go everywhere? Like I'm
Exactly.
losing.
Yeah. We need that for the regular game as well, right?
Yeah.
Flip table option.
It just all comes back where it
Coming
was.
soon.
but
It's the second most requested feature after saving. So
nice.
No, was it?
The flip.
Just swipe it all
Yeah, exactly. That would be kind of like, especially when you roll a bad die,
Yeah.
in the thick of things, like just being able to do that and then just reset immediately. That would be kind of.
off. That'd be funny. Or you do that, and like a
Fulfilling.
random tree will fall over, like an object.
Yeah, exactly.
Prop will just go flying.
A single leaf will fall off.
I know
And then you
in our runs, we'd see that happen a lot.
Yeah. Yeah.
probably that'd be me.
Ah.
They were like from my childhood, like I did paint some miniatures, like, and that, like sometimes I'm sitting here like this would take so long to set up in real
Yeah.
life. Like if you had all these props, I'm like, oh my lord,
Yeah,
this is
building all the environments and painting the miniatures. Do you play Warhammer or?
Yeah, there were Warhammer figures back in the day, but I was just a poor kid, and it was like the cool ones, dwarves were all like $30 a figure. I'm like, I didn't play the game 'cause I didn't know anything about it. I was like, I just like that figure.
Yeah,
And
it's an expensive hobby, right?
Cheaper. Yeah, that'll break
Yeah.
you.
I really like playing Warhammer as well. Yeah,
Nice.
not the
Sounds
fan.
fun.
I play both the fantasy, but the 40K, the sci-fi version. Playing with my Space Marines, always fun.
Yeah, it's sad we were talking about playing Dungeons and Dragons and all that when we were kids. You know, I was in my 30s when I first I want to try this out. I want to try and see what how this works because I've been a gamer all my life. So I got I still have them a couple of the first sets and builds and stuff, and then they have I don't know, maybe 10 hours of a solo campaign, just mainly for training, but you can play it alone. And I've played that 3 times by myself, but I've still never played in an actual group setting or anything.
Well,
I was really happy
in-
when Demeo.
In 2018 over Christmas, like right on Christmas Eve, we did join a little online thing that, a small group, and they were trying to learn it. It took me 2 weeks to figure out how to build the character sheet. Made me feel this big. Like it was that's a lot of stuff.
It's a lot of reading.
But
Yeah.
it didn't click. I don't think we had the right group for us. It was a bunch of experienced players that didn't seem like they wanted to wait for newbies to learn.
Yeah. No.
And they didn't have other friends. I'm like, these might be the people that I didn't want to play with. So,
that's the problem, right? With both RPGs and pen and paper RPGs and also Warhammer. It's very time consuming. You want to play Warhammer, you have to spend hours painting. Unless you, I guess you can buy pre-painted or commission it. But
if you're rich,
that can't be if you're rich. Yeah. Then playing in itself, you need to find a friend that also has a job that can spare 8 hours on a weekend, right? It's not a small ask. And same goes for pen and paper role playing games. Hours and hours. Playing.
You gotta have somewhere to
Actually,
do it.
Yeah, I actually bought a new pen and paper RPG just before Christmas called the Troubleshooters. So it's set in. Do you guys get Spirou and the Belgian comic book Spirou?
I haven't seen that.
Not that I'm aware of.
It's pretty much like Tintin, a bit more modern, I guess. But it's set in a similar world like that. Secret agents and journalists going on adventures. Stuff.
That sounds really cool.
Yeah, yeah, it looks amazing, but yeah, there's a lot of rules. I started reading the rule book, and I got tired fast. I hope someone else will read the rules for me, and I can just create a character and play along.
Yeah.
Best part of a video game is basically what it is. They have an audiobook version of the rules. You can just
Yeah,
take
exactly.
a drive and like soak it in.
Yeah. They should have.
Yeah,
But actually, I
that'd
think
be-
that's like podcasts where people are playing Dungeons and Dragons have become more popular, right? I think that's a
Yeah.
really, really cool, cool thing. Like I can see myself listening to that as well.
Yeah.
Even though the most fun is, of course, participating and like creating the story, being part of that. But second should be to listen in, right? A good group.
Mhm. Yeah.
So can't talk about the PvP.
Yeah, I'm sorry, guys. I would
No,
love
no,
to
no, no.
even play test it with you guys, right? It's always like, I guess it's like when Tommy joined before Demeo was launched, right? Like, I want to.
Yeah.
Turn the camera off.
Exactly. Let's play.
Why are we recording anything?
Exactly. But you will be able
Yeah.
to at least playtest the PC version soon, right? So
Looking forward to that.
Check it out.
happy to join you guys for that as well if you guys want to play some in there and talk about that.
Yeah.
Fun.
Yeah. I'll play test the table flipping update when you make it.
Yeah, exactly. It's just a short command on like it's Control F on the keyboard, and you just
Yeah. You said you were a Nintendo kid growing up. Like, what was your favorite game or games? Or what did you play a lot?
So I started playing remember those like Game and Watch
Mhm.
LCD displays? I got one of those from my grandpa, and I played that game until my eyes were square, right? And then so that was I guess Donkey Kong. That was like my first video game love. Right? But then I had the Nintendo 8-bit and the Super Nintendo, and I played a lot. Like I think Zelda is like the Zelda for the Super Nintendo.
Yeah.
The past.
Oh, yeah.
My all-time
Favorite game of all time. Yeah.
Yeah. That one's a hard one to dethrone because you've grown up in that, and like even still with like the 2D, the way that game looks, it's like timeless. You know, you get games that try to go ultra realism, and in 3 weeks they look old. You know, and then you get the stylized games like that just still looks cool as ever.
Exactly. It's like perfection, right? It's an amazing game in every. But yeah, so like the Mario games and Zelda, that's pretty much where I started off, like playing, except for like physical games, RPGs and board games. And I played a lot of cards with my grandpa's, like card and dice games. We were heavy into that. So, yeah, still play a lot.
Cool grandpa.
Trying to teach him. Yeah. He loved playing cards and dice with me. And like the winter break, their place playing cards. Really
Nice.
fun. So, yeah. But then I don't know. I like play a lot of games, but right now, like my obsession lately has been Stardew Valley. Have you guys played that?
I haven't started that because I'm afraid I would never stop those kind of games.
Yeah.
It looks
Yeah,
cool.
That was on sale for Xbox over the Christmas break, and I was almost clicking that button a couple times. I'm like, I don't know if I have time for it.
Yeah. I mean, you've been warned. If you don't feel like you have time, though.
I mean,
but it's
any games like that where you're setting it up like, old school Harvest Moon on the Nintendo 64
Exactly.
back in the day. Pick that up and I'm like,
yeah,
well, now I'm a farmer and that's my weekend
Yeah.
all
Yeah.
time.
yeah, exactly. Yeah, no, but it's just like it's so cool to like a game that was released just a few years ago, and they have the same like pixel perfect world and like a Link to the Past for the Super Nintendo.
Yeah.
There's a straight line between them. It's 25 years
Yeah,
in time.
I see people, indie
Yeah,
devs,
amazing.
and know. Oh, sorry, go ahead.
No. Go ahead.
Indie games that make like platformers and throwbacks to old games like Zelda and stuff like that. Like they don't have the magic. And it's unfortunate. Like I want to crowdfund for you so you can polish, like almost there, but then it's like, unfortunately, I just go back and play the old Zelda. So
Yeah.
hard to beat.
Yeah, exactly. But it's still kind of cool though, because a lot of those games wouldn't be done like if you try to sell a game like that to a publisher. Like there's a reason those are indie games, right?
Yeah.
It has to be come from an enthusiast.
Yeah. I appreciate that so much because you'll get some of them that come out with like a couple mechanics that it's just like, oh, if that was in the old Zelda, it's never stopped playing it ever,
Yeah.
Good stuff.
Oh yes.
The darn hook shot.
Mm-hmm.
Was there anything we didn't get to talk about that you wanted to? As far as yourself or Demeo or?
No, I think we've covered pretty much most of it. Like I'm really looking forward to this year. Yeah, I think it's going to be a big year for Demeo. I mean, you guys saw the roadmap, and
Yeah.
now we just have to deliver on it, right?
Yeah. It's
no pressure.
It's so hard to be patient for like because like again the first campaign was great, and then it's like if we just had one more area, it'd be awesome. And Bracken came out and it's like, oh, if we just had an outside thing, we'd be good. It's hard to not like I just want another map, and it's so hard to be patient for that.
What would be your guys like if you had one wish for Demeo? What would it be?
One wish.
I would like. Oh, we're talking maps or anything.
I guess anything, but yeah.
Oh. As far as a map, like I really wanted an outside one, and this is awesome. But I would really like to like come out of the forest, go like into like a big castle, go through the castle, and come out like the other side and do another thing. Would be mine.
Or like a 3D, like you have places to climb up. That'd be harder to see.
Oh,
I like
a vertical map would be pretty
Yeah.
sweet.
Yeah.
Yeah, that'd be nuts.
Yeah.
I don't have any like straight up wishes really. The vertical map
Could be
is
a
what I was gonna
feature
say.
as well.
Yeah.
Map you don't have like a map editor? Yeah. Cool.
That would be great. Yeah. Like Wookie was saying earlier, like any game that has like community content creating abilities is just breathes more life into any game. Like with an example is GTA 5. We have played a lot. Wookie has made I don't know how many, it's over 100 like races
like
in their race
150
editor.
races.
Yeah. Like so just something like if you like a game so much, it's just awesome to be able to go in there and like do stuff with it like outside of the actual game.
Yeah.
That would be pretty sweet.
I hear you.
Because
that's a very powerful thing in any game, right?
Yeah. I don't know what like your guys' grid system if it would be easy to detect that, but yeah, thanks to making those races. Xbox came out recently, or maybe it was already there. It had like that Xbox museum. You could go through the history of all the Xbox things, and you could do it on your phone. And it shows bits about games. And one of them is like stuff about you, and it's got like since your account started, and it's got all these stats. And I took screenshots because most played game from like last year in like the 6 years before that were all GTA 5.
Yeah.
Because I was making races.
Yeah.
But it's so crazy. Like that game has been out. It must be like 7 years or so. It's still super popular, right?
7, 8 years.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Great game.
Every year
I wish
they're in the top of the can't think of the name of the charts, but the selling information. Every year they're like in the
Yeah.
top 5. It's like, wow.
Yeah.
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 I mean, you could just keep walking around the map. Like everything's just, I don't know how much
Yeah.
time or money they spend on that map, but everything's right where it should be. It's like I still keep seeing new stuff. I'm like, didn't know that
Yeah.
joke billboard was there. What the hell?
No, it's crazy. It's such a massive game, right?
Yeah.
I was always fascinated by how I could like learn how to navigate the city that doesn't exist.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
When I was
You
playing,
remember it.
even from GTA 3, right? I still can find my way around that city. And that was smaller, right? GTA 5 is
Yeah.
so big. But
Yeah.
still, you get this
It's-
sense like, I'm going down to the beach, I need to take a left turn
Yeah.
here, and then there's a right up on that boulevard. And
I literally know that city better than the one I live in. Like,
yeah, exactly. I think, and it's probably true for a lot of people. It's crazy.
Yeah. It's,
Do you know? Have they
and
announced
then-
the next one, or are they still
No.
like they're just gonna commit to this one? Yeah, it makes
just
sense.
gonna
If it's
ride
still
it.
on the top selling. Yeah,
The only thing I want for that game is like, I like they do steady updates. I wish there was just more stuff. Like they're okay, but there's nothing bringing like PJ back. But I'll go and buy the cars and stuff like. But
yeah,
PJ
Yeah.
showed me the VR add-on, and if you have GTA 5 on your PC and a VR headset, you gotta try it. Like,
yeah.
To
So-
that point, since GTA 5 has been out so long, I've had it on every console it's been on, and I've gotten to the same point in the campaign by myself, which is like 2 hours in, and I'm like, I'm gonna go do something else. But when I played with the VR mod, I'm almost finished the campaign. Like it's just that much better in VR.
Oh wow,
Crazy.
yeah.
it's
Yeah, I
just-
think I haven't finished the campaign either. I'm like maybe 40% in or something. Like I remember there's this like you do this heist, right? One of the first heists, and like
Yeah.
uh, like a diamond store, like a jewelry store. Or something. Then after that, I mainly drive around trying to like do all the stunts and yeah,
yeah,
it's
the
great.
best part is when you after you've had Trevor, the guy from the north, for a while, and then when you boot up the game and go into the story and you get like a random event going on, like they're having some chat with their, the one's got kids and this stuff, and the one guy's cleaning his motorcycle. But that guy up north, the Trevor guy, he'll just come up and he'll just be running through the field in his underwear, chasing somebody down, like screaming at him like they just had a change of money for some other act. And he's just the weirdest stuff. And it's like, what is his pants around his ankles? Like, what the hell?
Yeah,
And I'll be
that's
like, I don't, yeah.
unexpected video game hero of the century,
Yeah.
right? That guy living in a trailer up in the
Yeah.
really funny.
And for Christmas, I was like, don't give me too much stuff, 'cause I got too much stuff. So I was like, PJ,
Yeah.
I appreciate it, but, don't worry about it. So he got one of those cameo videos where actors will say stuff to you. He got the Stephen Ogg, I think his name is, Trevor, to insult me on a video. He's like, saying my real name is
That's
like,
brilliant.
Wookie. Yeah, and he's like, you're a punk ass. Your brother wanted me to let you know you're a punk ass. I'm like, what?
The
Couldn't have done better.
the funny part about that is I went through and I got all of Trevor's best lines from GTA, and I wrote a little script because I had never used Cameo, and I'm like,
Yeah.
I wrote this cool little script, and it was real short. I'm like, if he can read this, that'd be awesome. And I sent it. It wouldn't fit in their text box. I'm like, God. So I made what he did say, and I'm like, oh, I can take a screenshot of this story and send it to him for an extra $5. So I did that, and he didn't do anything with it. But I'm like, it would have been so much better, but what it was is still pretty cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
That's funny.
Yeah.
So before we close, if you want to close, I mean, we can talk all day, but we want to respect your time. Just curious, like, and what's your favorite new thing like on the roadmap that you can talk about that is coming out that you're most excited to share with players about the game, and if that makes sense.
That's a great question. So, I mean, I really like what we have in store for the next expansion, right? It's still very early in the planning stage, but I think it's going to be super cool.
I love
But yeah, I can't really share any more details than that,
Sure.
fortunately.
No.
But yeah,
I love you guys share the concept art and all that. Like the artists you guys have it's just awesome. Like I've got a couple posters from you guys and stuff, and I'm putting them in frames. It's just so the the aesthetic of the game is just amazing. Like, it's so good.
Yeah. Yeah, like the Roots of Evil. That poster came out so well, right?
Yeah.
Like the root lore there. It's cool.
Yeah. Even just on like textures, these rocks look. People use textures because it's a it's a 2D image you map to a 3D image. But this actually looks like it has here. Like it looks like a fuzzy mossy rock, and like everything's so tight, perfect.
Yeah, I wish this was my like Warhammer terrain, right? Being able to play on a board that looks like this, like with all the lush greenery and the rocks and everything. So cool.
It's kind of insane. Like I've played Demeo a lot, and when I still play, like I just get lost. Like I said, I play really zoomed in. I just get lost looking around, zooming around, and then like, hey, dude, it's your turn. Like, oh, sorry. Like I have to get back to the game.
Yeah, I do that a lot.
Like,
yeah,
and then
crazy.
You go down here and I'm like, oh, there's like you can see the individual grass fibers on the like next to the edge of the squares and stuff. And then I'm sitting here like while they're playing and waiting on me, I'm sitting there zooming in trying to see like, do those go away? Is there some sort of layering or distance? And then I look up and everyone's like, oh,
like, oh. But I
remember it's kind of cool.
When
like
first
looking at this scene, like this statue here, like it paints an epic picture, right? You have the tiny characters here and this, but then when you zoom in and go like first person view, pretty much like it's even cooler than that.
Yeah,
really.
And I love this statue, like the hood, the shadow in the hood. It's like you can see the geometry back in there, but like it's negative light, and it's like that's not just a flat piece like ends right here. You can kind of it's just so well done.
Amazing.
Yeah, I remember when we first came into this campaign, Wookie lost his shit. He's like, look at the leaves. He's like, that's fucking awesome. Like,
yeah. And it's still like when you're playing and like you see a leaf and it kind of crosses over into like over the table. It looks like a bug. Like, it's just a leaf.
Yeah.
That's good.
It's cool. We got a great team working on this.
I agree. Well, I mean, I appreciate you taking time out of your busy schedule to talk with us and hang out. Obviously, big fans of what you guys are doing. Please continue. Can't wait to see more and maybe play test the PC version with you guys. And I just
totally,
it's one of the in the past when we first got into VR, and I'll finish after this. I keep getting off on tangents. But in the past, it was like trying to explain VR to a friend and how awesome it was. But not that there weren't good games and stuff, but it's like you have to have something to play. Like if you spend $600 on a headset and have a computer to play it, there's got to be a reason to have that stuff, not just because it's cool. And
exactly.
I think Demeo if someone has a Quest 2 or whatever, at their price point inside, it's Demeo makes it very easy to say, hey, check this out. It's affordable. I can honestly recommend this and feel good about recommending it because I'll play with anyone and have fun with them. It's just
Yeah.
nice to have. I mean, it's VR is getting better as a whole with games and stuff, but like Demeo is definitely like one of the first things I'll show someone and say, hey, I can honestly say this is awesome. You spend the money, I would assume you would love this.
Yeah. Thank you. Yeah, no, so I agree. Like early on, the headsets were punishingly expensive. They weren't that great, and the stuff you could do with them was mostly like short experiences, right? And now I think we're like the Quest 2 is an amazing device, right? It's at that price point and with the feature it has, and then like we see more and more content like this. But I think Demeo. I mean, obviously I'm biased, but I think it's best in class.
Yeah. And again, all resolution games are like top notch, and I can recommend them to anyone and feel good about it instead of trying to like, hey, check out this game. It's okay. All of your
Exactly.
guys' games are just, top notch.
Thank you so much.
Yeah.
And thanks for having me. It was great.
Yeah.
Great talking to you guys,
awesome.
and yeah, looking forward to showing you more stuff.
Can't wait.
Like during the next year. Yeah.